What is going on, guys? Politics Gaming here, and today I am doing a new episode of the People's Republic of China. Last time, basically, we did an introductory episode. We basically went across our situation. We talked about the area in which we're going to be revolving in, and the things that we are going to do to basically put China on a world stage, and how to basically do that. So today we are going to be expanding the People's Republic of China. I think we may clamp down on a couple of freedoms, possibly. I will look into that, especially police legislation. Other than that, we're going to definitely try to grow the economy in this episode, though I really don't have to do a lot of work. However, my trade contracts already are growing the economy, which will get us to 20 trillion GDP faster. Our population, however, I am not going to be able to compete with India unless I literally ban contraceptives, which I don't think is a good idea. Let's go over here. What I could do is I could ban contraception, or I could promote contraception consistent using temporary and reversible. Oh wait, no, I could forbid. I could tolerate or discourage or just flat out forbid it. The demographic, philosophical, religious, and political issues evolved to make it a major social issue question for all countries. Legislation on homosexual rights. That is basically where I'm going to keep it at. No union, but legal homosexuality. Legalize same-sex parent adoption and birth control policy. I have no limits. There is no more single child policy. And then let's see what our thing on abortion is. Illegal on demand. I could push for illegal except in the case of rape or birth defects. However, I do not know the social aspects of China, so I could possibly try to avoid that. Our deficit is now hovering at 1.81%. We are spending $2.8 trillion while making $2.6 billion. We do have a deficit, however, I do think we are paying off our debt. Ouch. Our next quarterly loan is estimated to be $75.25 billion. That is not good. Let's go over to energy, and let's create a nuclear power plant. We're going to build this in the Mongol region, just north of Baotou. So we're going to place it right there. Reduction of risk for a mission to Mars space program. Now 0%. That is good. We do not need to worry about our men blowing up in the middle of the sky. Here it is, Tiangong 3. That is set to launch next month. There's a possibility that $74 billion could go to waste. We could delay the launch of the Tiangong. I can go for a 2020 launch date. Let's go ahead and put it for 2020, and then I'm going to schedule a space habitation module to be launched. I'm going to go ahead and invest $3 billion into this. I'm going to go ahead and call this the Shanzhou, and I'm going to fund 100% of that. So $690 million every year. And then let's go ahead and create that space program. We are not going to be able to... I could abandon the Tiangong and instead go for a moon mission. However, I think I'm going to be able to afford both. 20% risk failure. I could actually give it more money. Let's go ahead and give it $6.5 billion. Oh wow, that actually got our risk factor all the way down. So let's go ahead and put a launch date. Let's see how early this launch date can actually be. Let's go ahead and push for a June launch. Let's go ahead and go for June 15th. And what if we wanted to do a May launch? What about at the end of May, like May 30th? Okay, let's go for a June 15th launch. And confirm that. And let's go ahead and approve this program and release the funds. And that is going to do it for that. The Shanzhou is going to be launching on June 15th of 2019. So we are now 1 year away from that, and then we will be in the clear for the Tiangong to successfully launch with no risk factors or anything. We have a satellite that is hovering over Russia. Let's put that over Hokkaido in Japan. Let's go ahead and put that over there. And let's go ahead and get that train going that we actually planned in last episode. High-speed train. Let's go ahead and connect Xi to Vladivostok. It's going to be a direct. And then I think I can actually connect Harbin, or actually, you know what? I'm going to connect Harbin to Vladivostok. Major city to major city. Well, actually, I mean, Harbin is a bigger city than Vladivostok. Alright, let's connect Jilin. Let's go ahead and fund 95% of that project. 13% it goes into... 13% of the project is in Russia, while 87% is in China. So we're going to be paying $2.4 billion for that. So let's go ahead and release that. And send it over to the Russian government to try to see if they want to participate in something like that. Beginning of creation of the Shanzhou and beginning of the Shanzhou. Reduction of risk for the Tiangong to 15%. Prepare for liftoff. Preparing to launch. Where our teams are now busy planning the launch phase. I will keep you informed. And we are now on top of the world for the Olympics. Project refused, unfortunately, for construction of a high-speed railway. Alright. Abandoned in Russia. The project's because the country is in a difficult financial situation. So I don't think they would be able to do it unless I paid for the entire thing. I mean, which I could. Alright, let's try to fund the entire thing. We can afford something like that, so let's just let's try to connect Yangji to Vladivostok. And then let's fund the entire operation. Alright, let's build 20. And then it's going to be $4 billion. Much shorter. Alright, so that is good. So let's just go ahead and go to when they refuse or accept it. NG. Russia judges notably that certain selected cities for tracks are badly chosen and there are more important needs elsewhere. So, secondary option, I can connect Gigi to Vladivostok, or I can connect, I don't know, I could probably go back to that. However, I could probably try to connect Yining to Almaty in Kazakhstan. There's no other Chinese cities in the Xinjiang region. That is unfortunate. Let's go ahead and check our health and social security spending. We are spending nearly $1 trillion on that. Let's go here, and then let's go to currency. If inflation, I'm going to keep a watch over inflation. If inflation goes any higher than about 3.5%, I'm going to go to taxation, and I'm actually going to put tax investigation on frequent and very repressive, so I can actually help lower that inflation. People say that, and it actually surprised me too, but thanks to one of the commenters, they actually told me that there are actually more inflation controls than just the interest rate. So that is actually really interesting. If you ever want to lower inflation, come over here to change the level of tax investigation, and that's basically what you're going to be able to do. Let's go to finance. Let's see what our growth rate is at. We are nearly at a 10% growth rate. I think this is just about good for China. However, they do like to have higher than that, because a 6% growth rate, which is what they're at right now, is very, very bad. Not bad, but I mean, it's disappointing to Chinese investors and the world economy. Immigration. Well, let's see what the immigration situation is going on. We actually have illegal immigrants leaving without us actually deporting them. However, we could actually deport them. However, I do not want to deal with any riots right now. Let's actually purchase more missiles, conventional weapons, and let's go for that. It's always a one-time cost, and that's always going to be able to make you incur more debt. Got a meeting with the president of Tajikistan. We actually have very good relations with them. However, they are a religious authoritarian regime, so I actually am going to want to... I'm actually just going to create a formal alliance with them as a outreach program. For some reason, I always see, whenever I see China's borders, everyone always confuses Tajikistan with China, and I don't know why. I mean, I literally always recognize that there's something wrong with the China map, and I always put Tajikistan in the in that. So let's actually rehabilitate some houses. Let's actually spend $10 billion to rehabilitate 621,000 houses. Rent increases, rent is capped. State aid actually have a reduced income tax on people who cannot afford real estate. And we do not have a rent allowance. However, I can create one. Alright, so let's go to population. Living over there, wow, we actually have a really low poverty rate. Life expectancy is pretty good, 76. Birth rate is going down. Density, population density is 374 people per square mile. And then population growth is 0.41. Which, I mean, compared to the rest of the world, the United States is 0.86, Indonesia is 0.87, and South Sudan is actually 3.94. So the population is actually going up by 3%, while ours is only going up by 0.4%. So I mean, 1% of a billion is pretty high. Here's our population chart. Got all these people. We got a lot of people. We got over 30 million people. right here. I wish there was an easier way to read this, but I mean, it's pretty simple to read. Gross national happiness, let's go ahead and look right here. We are number 86 out of 175, I believe. But our value is actually 5.23. This is mostly because I have not made any advancements in human rights. I've not made any advancements in employment. My purchasing power is still very weak, especially since the start of the game. Education I have not improved on. Environment I have not improved on. And health I have not improved on. National wealth is the only thing I've actually improved on. Alright, so let's go to the next day. Let's actually skip to the meeting between us and the president of Tajikistan. See what they want, see if we can actually buy or sell whatever they want. Which I mean, most likely we're going to be able to sell something. Opening of the Winter Paralympics. Don't care. In search of funding. And good morning. Alright, let's they want to sell me rice. National production. They have no consumption of rice. Let's see if I can actually take all of that. Okay, never mind. I'm actually going to go ahead and refuse that contract. It's not going to advance anything. Let's see what kind of aid I'm actually giving. I'm actually a receiver of aid. I'm not... Let's actually go to the United Nations. Let's go to the IMF, and then let's go here. Outstanding credit to the World Bank is $16 billion. Luckily, we don't really need to borrow anything from the World Bank. However, our next quarterly loan has actually gone down by $6 billion, which I mean is pretty good. However, I do not like to take loans. Speaking of that, I actually just got a Twitter update from the President of the United States that Moon Jae-in has actually arrived in Washington. Alright, so let's go here. Let's see who likes us economically. Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Vietnam, and Laos actually love us economically. However, the United States, Iraq for some reason, the United Kingdom, Ukraine, Canada, do not like us economically. And then here it is strategically. Zimbabwe actually loves us militarily or strategically. Iran loves us. The same ones in Southeast Asia, North Korea, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Syria, and Tajikistan. Well, a lot of NATO actually really hates us. Iraq and Saudi Arabia really hate us. However, we only have a light red diplomatic relations with Iraq. Maybe we can actually meddle in Iraq, try to see if we can get a friendly government installed over there. I think we actually might want to do a little bit of outreach. Let's actually check in the situation in Venezuela. I think I would be able to, unemployment is 13%. Let's see what the gross national happiness is. Purchasing power, employment, I mean, I'm surprised he's still in there, but his approval rating is like 14%, so he's not going to be in there for long. Yeah, it's so easy for him to get, for the guy to get reelected in real life. However, in the game, it's so difficult. Religions. Let's see what our state power is. A religion. We have a secular government. With separation of powers and secular government. Other religions and atheists, 14%, 74% actually. However, other religions and atheists are actually the largest religion in the world. Intensely monitor and restrict outside the majority religion. What I could do is I could actually allow for tolerate and monitor all Minority religions. Buddhist is actually the largest actual religion. So I think it would be thinking that I wanted to become a Buddhist nation. However, I do not want to do that. I think China is actually really good at where they are right now. My deficit is about to hit 2%. So I want to keep watch of that. Make sure that I'm not going to go over that. I do want to find other ways to actually reduce costs. I may actually have to reduce costs or try to create new revenue. What I can do is I can actually reach to try to get the value-added tax to 25%. I do have a 100% approval rating, so I'd have a lot of leeway to do that. However, my social approval would actually plummet. So that would be unfortunate. $40 billion is exactly is actually how much I'm making on the inheritance tax. The real estate tax I could increase, however, that would discourage further real estate development. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and increase that by $1. And that created about $4 billion in revenue. I could give, wow, that is expensive. Spending $500 billion on education. It's a lot of money. Debt reimbursement is only 1.4% of our GDP. Or actually, it's only 1.4% of our budget. How many universities can I actually create? Let's distribute over the full territory and then just create those. And then higher education, community colleges. Let's go ahead and shoot for 100. Ah, come on. All right, there we go. Nearly $1 billion is going to education, so we can build these areas. That's put us over 5,000 higher education facilities. We could go for indoctrination. However, I'm actually surprised that it is not indoctrination as the People's Republic. With all that crap that you always hear about the People's Republic of China, people always say, well, they're always communists and they don't want you to do anything. China's pretty simplistic, honestly. China's actually really interesting because they're not what you think they are. I mean, they still have those real restrictions on like human rights, the media, stuff like that. But I mean, whenever you go into other things on how they actually treat people, I mean, they're not sitting there like North Korea killing everyone that like speaks against the government. They jail people, but I mean, they still have human rights that they actually follow, I believe. But that is honestly my opinion. If you actually live in China or if you've actually lived in China, go ahead and open up about that in the comments. Family allowances, let's see what we got right there. Very, very expensive. I'm gonna cancel that. Let's see our GDP. It is about to hit, our farming GDP is actually about to hit 1 trillion. Trade balance is going down, unfortunately. I don't know how, I think I can actually just export some products to actually get that up. So let's actually create a farming contract with the United States to export more beer is actually a part of that. Sell them some good old Chinese beer. Let's go to cereals. Wow, we can get a really lucrative contract off of that. Ouch. Maybe we could probably see what Germany wants. See if Germany wants some cereals. However, I do not think they're going to be able to match the consumption that the United States has. Now we're going to have to go to the United States for cereals. Alright, so let's 390. And then probably the first contract that they send back is the one we're going to be able to accept. 307 to 176. That is actually very good. So let's go ahead and name this contract the speaking of trade between the United States and China, we actually made $30 billion off of that, give or take, because of profit margins. Speaking of the United States and China, the United States and China have actually ceased their trade war. There was fears of trade war that actually crashed the markets in the United States because of President Donald Trump's threats of putting tariffs on aluminum and steel, which he actually did. However, he has actually made a deal with China to actually put the trade war on hold, as the media says it. And China has actually stopped tariffing several American products and has actually pledged to reduce the $375 billion trade deficit that the United States has with China, and has pledged to actually purchase more, products from the United States. It's funny how I can actually zoom out, and the only two cities I actually see is Shanghai and Beijing. Shanghai actually has a bigger population than Beijing. That is funny. Actually have 6.6 million people in Beijing, while Shanghai actually has 9.1. It's actually considerable to make Shanghai my capital. However, Beijing is actually a very historical capital, and I'm not going to change it. The Great Wall of China. Keep the Mongols out. Could actually invade Mongolia, because Mongolia is so weak. 2.2 million people against several thousand. Taxation, airline ticket, we're making exactly $1 billion off airline tickets. Inheritance tax, I could actually put that at 12%. It's currently being drafted. Currency. Okay, so inflation is still continuing to skyrocket. Civil servant, let's see what's going on here. Public debt is $2 trillion. We could actually hold on to a very healthy debt, but for some reason I actually haven't been having any massive projects except for the what do you call it? The nuclear power plants. But other than that, I haven't had any. Okay, so we just incurred $80 billion.
Last quarter is poor and shows a deficit, which has forced us to undertake an issuance of debt so that our national and international lenders can take it over.
Alright, so let's go ahead and check the debt situation again. See what's going on here. Public debt is 16.71% of our GDP. We're gonna have this deficit for a while, and I actually might have to deal with the deficit, because I do not want to reduce spending. However, I do not want to spend a lot. So we're probably gonna have to do a United States on this one and issue ourselves a lot of debt, while simultaneously trying to increase taxes to a point to where I can actually not have a deficit. So let's go ahead and check our debt situation. We are now at $2.19 trillion to our public debt. And then let's go ahead and check over to here. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here. The United States has actually lended us a lot of money. That was actually $4 billion that we owed the United States. $4.2 billion, I believe, is what it was. And then now we owe them $33 billion. So the United States has actually lended us about $30 billion. We actually have more lenders that we actually owe money now, which is Russia, Australia, India, and Finland now. So the United States actually has a very, very high interest rate. So our next quarterly loan is actually projected to be $42 billion. However, I am not going to be initiating any major construction projects in this quarter to try to see if we can actually combat our debt. And if we don't, then I'm actually, in the next quarter after that, I am actually going to initiate a massive stimulus program, try to see if I can get my growth maybe up to 15%. That is actually a reason why I'm actually going to put that at 5.85% for interest rate. I bet it actually spooks the stock market in the United States whenever I do that. Social rating is actually high because of that, because everyone loves communism. Let's go to Parliament. Determine the powers of the Parliament. Under control of the single party. Date of next elections, 10/23/22. Let's go over to political parties, actually. Legislation. Allow one party under state control. I could have a tolerated multi-party system under state control. However, I do not want to institute any signs of democracy in China. I could. I don't know if Xi Jinping would actually do something like that. Contracts. Let's actually import oil. I want to import some oil. We actually do have a trade deficit on that. Which, I mean, we do not produce any oil, so it's actually known for that. We can come over to Iran. I know Iran actually, this is actually going to be able to help us reduce our inflation. We're going to go ahead and send that over to Iran. We're not going to be able to negotiate the price because they are a part of OPEC after all. So we're going to go ahead and negotiate that $74 billion contract. Previous estimate 6.87. Okay, so Q1 was really good. Here's for Q2. Not to be sufficient to meet the combined needs of your country and Iran's needs. Let's go ahead and go back to Iran and negotiate another one. Oil. Let's go ahead and reduce that to 105 million tow. Okay, so yeah, that actually, the other contract was actually a huge amount that they wouldn't be able to sell us. However, this will actually cover partial amounts of our needs. You know, if it's not being transported through like here or something like that, which I mean, I doubt it is, shipping it across the Arabian Sea, then the Bay of Bengal, then the South China Sea all the way to here, it's pretty expensive. Alright, interlocutor is accepted. Contract number 10. Let's go to the next day and see what our Minister of Economy is actually rated at. It's a flat-faced purchase price is close to the cost that we usually pay for this product. However, they do not have anything on whether that is a good to supplier needs. Valici Salutins. Oh. What? Communist Party Secretary General. Let's go ahead and send him our congratulations for Vladimir Putin being re-elected. What party are you a part of? Conservative rightist. Oh, he actually requested a meeting with us after we sent our congratulations. Public finances are actually doing very well. 1.5%. That is very, very good for our economy. Let's see what our debt is looking like. That lender, that loan that we are actually supposed to incur in July, has actually gone down to $39 billion. I am expecting that we will actually incur a little bit of debt because I actually, let's go ahead and set that meeting for the weekend. Justice, determined powers, justice completely under state control. Let's actually go over to Secret Service and let's do a lot of surveillance. Alright, that's good. And then Brigades of Islam. God, there's so many people. We're just going to do a select amount of them so we can actually have enough to surveil other terrorist groups, because there are a lot of terrorist groups. Here's the Chinese Republican movement. Let's go ahead and check on you guys. Reinforce this door. Bought a mini camera. Bought a second phone. This guy's kind of suspicious. I don't know why they always buy mini cameras. I don't know what that means. I'm actually going to use that last one to surveil. I'm actually going to infiltrate. Infiltrate these terrorist groups so we can keep an eye on them. And then Brigades of Islam. We have a lot of them we can actually do. The only one that we can't really do anything with is the Chinese Mafia. 10,000, that's enough to do an insurrection. Let's go for agent trading and fight against terrorism. Let's go ahead and fund the living hell out of that. It's going to be about $6 billion. That is good. And then let's place someone under surveillance. Let's go for party and power, military, religious, artists. Classical dancer, political journalist. I'm going to put you under surveillance. And then let's go ahead and skip to the Russia-China summit. See what the Russians want to do. Political journalist. Target is in position. Alright, looks like our dude has actually been re-elected in Venezuela. Alright, here is the Russia-China summit. They want to purchase aeronautical constructions. National consumption, 235 planes, while we're only producing 9. Could actually do a little bit of investment into that. However, exporting them is not going to help. Let's propose a military alliance. Let's go ahead and go for a non-aggression pact. Let's offer them some coffee. And then let's go for a non-aggression pact again. We're going to go ahead and do that another time. There was a tsunami in Japan. 798 people are dead. Let's go ahead and go to industry. And let's go to aeronautical construction. Subsidize. Let's go ahead and give them $60 million in subsidies. And then we can exonerate them from state taxes. Total workforce. Let's go ahead and shoot for how expensive is it going to be? God, it is so expensive to put like one person in there. Yeah, let's go ahead and put 37,200 people in there. Pose a price reduction. I can't. Total salary. Yeah, people usually like that, especially the unions, because it's actually pro. Usually it's like whenever like state employees always like being supported. All right, let's go ahead and put 2.2 million people in our army. And I think this is going to be the last action that we're going to actually initiate for our government. So 202,205,137. It's going to be $400 million. And legislation, create a national service. I really do not want to go for national service, even though conscription is really good. And it puts reserves into our army. Plus, I mean, I don't even think reserves. I mean, reserves. Yeah, I mean that's 500,000 additional people into our army. However, all right, 12,000 commandos. And manage arms embargoes. Who do we want to ban the sale of arms to? I think India would actually be a good choice because, I mean, there's a lot of tension between India and China. In 1977, the United Nations Security Council voted for an embargo on the sale of arms to South Africa. This decision helped to undermine the regime and led to Nelson Mandela's release in 1990 and the abolition of apartheid. Puerto Rico, Russia, Rwanda. Oh, Taiwan. Let's go ahead and have a complete ban on the purchase and sales of arms to and from Taiwan. And let's see how people actually like that. Foreign policy, people like that pacifism, though. Alright, guys, I think this is gonna do it for today. Let's go ahead and do this one last meeting with the president of Laos. They want to sell me beef. No. Way too little. Alright, guys, I think this is going to be enough for this episode. So, guys, if you like this, go ahead and leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Go to my Patreon and support me on Patreon. And I will see you guys in the next episode of the People's Republic of China.